There are moments rare, unrepeatable moments when time itself seems to pause just long enough for truth to break through the noise. This is one of those moments. And you, yes, you, did not arrive here by accident. You did not stumble upon this message by chance. Something deeper, something unseen has guided your eyes to these very words at this exact second. Because before this weekend, something hidden in your life will be exposed. And your spirit already feels it, doesn't it? That subtle tension you couldn't explain. That strange shift in your energy. The way certain conversations started to feel off. The way silence around you suddenly felt louder than words. You tried to brush it off. You told yourself it was nothing. Just stress. Just overthinking. But deep down something in you whispered, "No, this is different." And it is. This is not fear speaking. This is not anxiety. This is awareness awakening. There has been something beneath the surface of your life. Quiet, concealed, carefully hidden. Not loud enough to alarm you, but present enough to disturb your peace. It may be connected to a person, a situation, a truth you were never fully shown, or even something within yourself that you've been avoiding, suppressing, or simply not ready to face. But now the time of hiding is ending. You see, heaven does not allow dissection to linger forever. What is buried does not stay buried when divine timing steps in. And right now something has shifted in the spiritual realm. Something has been set into motion that cannot be reversed. The veil is thinning. The silence is cracking. And what was once hidden is preparing to rise into the light. That's why this message feels different. It doesn't feel casual. It doesn't feel like just another video or just another piece of content. It feels targeted, personal, almost as if it's speaking directly into your life, into things no one else knows about, into emotions you haven't shared, into questions you've been carrying quietly. That's not coincidence. That's confirmation. Because something is about to be revealed, and you were meant to be prepared, not surprised. Think about the past few days. Look closely. Haven't there been signs? Small ones maybe. Easy to ignore. But now that you reflect, they start to connect. A comment that didn't sit right. A look someone gave you. A delay that felt intentional. A moment where your intuition spoke, but you hesitated to trust it. That hesitation ends now. Because what's coming will demand clarity. Before this week closes, before June 10th fully passes, something hidden will step forward. And when it does, it will come gently. It won't ask for permission. It will reveal itself in a way that forces you to see, to understand, to confront. But listen carefully. This is not happening to harm you. This is happening to free you. What is exposed cannot continue to control you. What is revealed cannot continue to deceive you. And what comes into the light loses its power to remain hidden in your life. So if you've been feeling uneasy, if something hasn't felt right, if your spirit has been restless without explanation, it's because you are being positioned for truth. And truth always arrives right on time. But here's the question you must ask yourself now. Will you be ready when it comes? Will you recognize it for what it is, or will you try to ignore it again? Because once this truth reveals itself, nothing will be the same. And deep down you already know that. Type "I am ready for truth" in the comments if you feel this stirring in your spirit. Blessing code 1010 is now activating clarity around your life. There are dates that pass like ordinary pages in a calendar, unnoticed, unmarked, easily forgotten. But then there are dates that carry weight, spiritual weight, moments that were not chosen by man, but appointed by heaven long before you ever arrived in this season of your life. June 10th is not random. It is not just another day in your week. It is a divine marker, a line drawn in the unseen, a moment where something that has been building quietly is about to reach its point of revelation. And the reason you feel this tension, this anticipation, this unexplainable pull is because your spirit recognizes what your mind is still trying to understand. Something has been counting down, not with numbers you can see, not with clocks you can hear ticking, but with spiritual timing that operates beyond your awareness. While you were going about your days, handling your responsibilities, navigating your emotions, something in the background of your life was aligning itself with this exact moment. Conversations, decisions, delays, and even distractions have all been moving pieces into place. And now, as June 10th approaches within this week, the alignment is complete. This is what makes this moment different. Because when heaven marks a time, it does not ask for permission from circumstances. It does not wait for comfort or convenience. It moves with precision. It moves with authority. And when it does, what has been hidden can no longer remain concealed. You may be wondering why now? Why this week? Why this exact timing in your life when things may already feel uncertain? When emotions may already feel heightened? When clarity seems just out of reach? But that is exactly why this moment has been chosen. Because truth does not wait for perfect conditions. Truth arrives when it is necessary for your next step. And your next step requires clarity. There has been something in your life operating in the shadows, subtle enough to go unnoticed, but significant enough to affect your direction. It may have influenced your decisions, your relationships, your peace, or even your sense of self. And while you may not have seen it clearly before, your spirit has been responding to it. That uneasiness you felt, that hesitation, that quiet inner voice urging you to pay attention, it was all preparation for this moment. June 10th is not just about exposure. It is about alignment. Because once something hidden is revealed, you are no longer walking in partial understanding. You are no longer making decisions based on incomplete truth. You are no longer tied to something you could not fully see. Instead, you are given the opportunity to realign your life with what is real, what is true, and what is meant for you. But here is what you must understand: timing like this does not come casually. When a moment like this arrives, it carries urgency. Not fear, but urgency. The kind that asks you to be present. The kind that asks you to pay attention. The kind that asks you to trust what you are being shown, even if it challenges what you previously believed. Because there will be a moment, very soon, where something shifts. It may come through a conversation. It may come through a realization. It may come through something you see, hear, or suddenly understand. And when it happens, it will connect dots that once felt scattered. It will answer questions you didn't know how to ask. It will reveal what was always there, just hidden from your view. And in that moment, you will remember this. You will remember that you were warned, that you were prepared, that you were not walking into this blindly, but consciously, and that awareness will be your strength. Because not everyone recognizes divine timing when it arrives. Some ignore it. Some resist it. Some try to hold on to what is being exposed instead of releasing it. But you are not being called to resist this moment. You are being called to step into it with clarity, with awareness, and with trust in what is unfolding. June 10th is not the end of something, it is the unveiling of something. And what is revealed will not come to confuse you. It will come to position you, to shift you, to move you out of what is no longer aligned and into what is waiting for you on the other side of truth. So as this week continues, as the days move closer, do not ignore what you feel. Do not dismiss the signs. Do not silence your intuition. Because this is not just another week in your life. This is a turning point. And once it passes, you will not be the same. Type "I trust divine timing" in the comments if you are ready to receive what is being revealed. Blessing code 2020 is now aligning truth with your path. There is something you have not been shown clearly, not fully, not completely, not in a way that allowed you to grasp its full weight. It has been there, present in your life, moving quietly beneath the surface like a current you could feel but could not see. And for a time, it remained hidden, not because you were blind, but because the moment for its exposure had not yet arrived. But now that moment is here. Before this week ends, what has been concealed will no longer stay buried. What hath been operating in silence will begin to speak. What has been disguised will begin to reveal its true form. And the truth is, a part of you already knows exactly what this is about. You have sensed it. You have felt it in the pauses between conversations, in the way certain words didn't match the energy behind them, in the way situations unfolded just slightly out of alignment, leaving you with questions you could not fully answer. You may have tried to ignore it. You may have given the benefit of the doubt. You may have told yourself, "It's nothing, I'm just overthinking." But deep within, your spirit never fully agreed with that conclusion. Because it wasn't nothing. It was something hidden waiting. This hidden thing may not look the same for everyone, but its impact has been real in your life. It could be a truth someone kept from you. It could be intentions that were never spoken honestly. It could be a situation that was presented one way but carried a completely different reality beneath it. Or it could even be something within you, an emotion, a realization, a truth you have been avoiding because facing it would require change. And that is why it remained concealed for so long. Because hidden things often survive on delay. They survive on hesitation. They survive on your willingness to look away just long enough for them to continue existing without confrontation. But once the time for exposure arrives, they lose that protection. They lose that covering. They lose their ability to remain in the background of your life. And right now that covering is being removed. This is not random. This is not coincidence. This is a shift that has been building, layer by layer, moment by moment, until it reached a point where it could no longer stay hidden without affecting your path in a deeper way. And heaven will not allow that to happen. Not when you are being positioned for something greater. Not when clarity is required for your next step. So the truth must rise. And when it does, it may not arrive in the way you expect. It may not be loud or dramatic at first. Sometimes truth reveals itself quietly through a realization that suddenly makes everything make sense. Through a small detail that connects larger patterns. Through a moment where you see something clearly for the first time, even though it has been in front of you all along. And when that moment comes, you will feel it. You will feel the shift inside you. The clarity. The undeniable knowing that something you once questioned is now confirmed. And in that moment, there will be no confusion. There will be no doubt. There will only be truth. But listen carefully, because this is where many people struggle. When something hidden is exposed, there is a natural urge to resist it, to question it, to minimize it, to hold on to the version of reality that felt more comfortable, more familiar, more manageable. But you are not being called to comfort. You are being called to clarity. And clarity requires acceptance. It requires you to see what is revealed without turning away. It requires you to acknowledge what is true, even if it changes how you view a person, a situation, or even yourself. Because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And that is not a loss. That is freedom. Because what has been hidden has also been limiting you in ways you may not have fully realized. It has influenced your decisions, your emotions, your direction. And once it is brought into the light, it loses its power to continue shaping your life from the shadows. This is the turning point. This is where you move from uncertainty to understanding, from confusion to clarity, from being affected by something hidden to being aware of it and able to respond with intention. And that response matters, because what you do with the truth once it is revealed will determine what comes next for you. Will you accept it and move forward? Or will you hesitate and allow it to linger longer than it should? The choice will be yours. But understand this: the exposure itself is not meant to harm you. It is meant to position you. It is meant to remove what does not belong in your life. It is meant to align you with what is real, what is honest, and what is truly meant for you. So when the hidden thing rises, do not fear it. Recognize it, because it is not arriving to break you. It is arriving to free you. Type "I accept the truth" in the comments if you are ready to receive clarity. Blessing code 3030 is now revealing what was hidden. As this truth begins to rise and hidden things come into the light, understand this: every revelation you receive is not just for you, but for countless others who are still walking in confusion, waiting for their moment of clarity. When you choose to support this message through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a channel. You are sowing light into someone else's darkness, planting seeds that will awaken souls who are still searching. The word says, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." And this is not just a verse. It is a living promise being activated through your obedience right now. I feel led to say this clearly: your seed today becomes someone else's breakthrough tomorrow. As you act in this moment, you step into alignment with a divine flow that multiplies beyond what you can see. There is urgency in this call, because every second matters when truth is being released. Those who give in this moment will not give in vain. Their lives will reflect the harvest of clarity, favor, and divine increase. So act now. Step into this prophetic movement and release your seed with boldness. There is a reason this message does not feel unfamiliar to you. There is a reason it does not feel distant or disconnected from your reality. It is because what is about to happen, what is about to be revealed, has already been announced to your spirit long before it reaches your physical awareness. You have been feeling it, not in loud, obvious ways, but in subtle, persistent signals that refuse to leave you alone. It started quietly. A thought that lingered longer than it should have. A feeling that returned even after you tried to dismiss it. A moment where everything seemed normal on the surface, yet something inside you whispered, "Pay attention." You tried to explain it away. You told yourself it was stress. You told yourself it was just your imagination. You told yourself you were overanalyzing things that didn't need that much attention. But the feeling didn't leave. It stayed. It repeated. It circled back in different forms, different moments, different situations. Because it was never meant to be ignored. It was meant to prepare you. Your spirit hath been receiving signals that your mind could not yet interpret. That is why things began to feel slightly off, even when nothing appeared visibly wrong. That is why certain people started to feel different, even if they had not changed their words. That is why certain situations began to carry a weight that you could not fully explain. This is what spiritual awareness feels like before clarity arrives. It is not always comfortable. It does not always make immediate sense. It often feels like standing in a space between knowing and not knowing, where something is being revealed but not fully understood yet. And that space can feel unsettling. But it is necessary, because awareness always comes before exposure. Think about the moments you brushed aside, the conversations that left you with more questions than answers, the energy shifts you noticed but chose not to confront, the instincts that told you something was not aligning, even when logic tried to convince you otherwise. Those were not random moments. Those were signals. Signals that something beneath the surface was not matching what you were being shown. Signals that something hidden was influencing your environment, your relationships, your direction. Signals that your spirit was picking up on truth before it became visible. And now, those signals are about to make sense. That is why the intensity has been increasing. That is why the feeling has become harder to ignore. Because the closer you get to the moment of exposure, the stronger the awareness becomes. It is as if everything inside you is being sharpened, preparing you to recognize what is about to be revealed. You may have even noticed changes within yourself. A sudden desire for clarity, a reduced tolerance for confusion, a need to step back and observe rather than immediately react. These are not random shifts in your behavior. These are adjustments happening within you so that when the truth appears, you are able to see it clearly, without distortion. Because not everyone is ready when truth reveals itself. Some people see it and still deny it. Some people feel it and still suppress it. Some people recognize it but choose comfort over clarity. But you are not being prepared for denial. You are being prepared for recognition. And recognition requires stillness. It requires you to trust what you feel without immediately dismissing it. It requires you to observe without rushing to conclusions. It requires you to allow the truth to unfold in its own timing rather than forcing understanding before it is ready. Because what is coming will not need to be forced. It will be clear. There will be a moment where everything aligns in a way that cannot be ignored. A moment where what you felt internally is confirmed externally. A moment where the pieces come together and the uncertainty disappears. And when that moment arrives, you will realize something important. You were never unaware. You were aware before you were certain. Your spirit recognized what your mind had not yet accepted. And that awareness was not a burden, it was a gift. It was protection. It was preparation. It was guidance leading you toward this exact point in time. So do not doubt what you have been feeling. Do not question your sensitivity. Do not silence the part of you that has been trying to bring your attention to something deeper. Because that part of you is the very thing that will help you navigate what comes next. You are not walking into this moment blindly. You are walking into it prepared. Prepared through every feeling you could not explain. Prepared through every moment that felt slightly out of place. Prepared through every instinct you almost ignored. And now, those preparations are about to serve you. Because when the hidden thing is exposed, you will not be confused. You will understand. Type "I trust what I feel" in the comments if you are ready to honor your awareness. Lesson code 4040 is now strengthening your discernment. There comes a point in your journey where the truth is not only revealed through situations but through people. And this is where things begin to feel even more personal, even more unsettling, because the hidden thing in your life may not just be an event or a circumstance. It may be connected to someone who has been standing closer to you than you realized. Someone you trusted. Someone you allowed into your space, your thoughts, your energy. Someone whose words you accepted without question, whose presence you became familiar with, whose intentions you believed were aligned with yours. And for a time, everything appeared normal. There was no reason to doubt, no reason to question, no reason to look deeper. But now something is shifting. Because before this week ends, you may begin to see people differently. Not because they suddenly changed it, but because what was hidden about them can no longer remain concealed. And when that happens, it can feel disorienting. It can feel like the ground beneath your understanding is moving, because it forces you to confront a difficult realization that not everyone around you has been who they appeared to be. This is not about fear. This is about clarity. There are moments when people reveal themselves not through what they say, but through what no longer aligns. Through the small inconsistencies that begin to stand out. Through the subtle shifts in behavior, tone, or energy that you once overlooked, but can no longer ignore. And when your awareness sharpens, these details begin to form a clearer picture. You start to notice what you didn't see before. The words that don't quite match the actions. The support that feels conditional rather than genuine. The presence that feels different when you are not looking directly at it. These are not things you imagined. These are things you are now able to recognize because the timing for clarity has arrived. And this is where it becomes important for you to remain grounded. Because when truth about people begins to surface, there is a natural emotional response. You may feel disbelief. You may feel disappointment. You may even feel the urge to question yourself, wondering how you didn't see it sooner, wondering if you misunderstood something, wondering if you are interpreting things correctly. But this is not the moment to doubt yourself. This is the moment to observe. Because not everyone who is close to you is aligned with you. Not everyone who speaks kindly to you carries genuine intentions. And not everyone who has been part of your life is meant to continue walking with you into your next chapter. That does not mean everyone is against you. It does not mean you must view everything with suspicion. But it does mean you must be willing to see clearly, without forcing a version of reality that no longer matches what is being revealed. There are people who play roles in your life for a season, and when that season ends, their true position becomes visible. Sometimes they were never meant to go further with you. Sometimes they were meant to teach you something. And sometimes their presence was only sustainable while certain things remained hidden. But now those hidden things are rising. And when they do, the truth about people will rise with them. You may find that someone you trusted does not respond the way you expected when truth comes forward. You may notice hesitation where there should be clarity, or defensiveness where there should be honesty. You may sense distance where there was once closeness, or a shift in energy that confirms what your spirit has already been feeling. These are not coincidences. These are revelations. And the purpose of these revelations is not to hurt you. It is to show you where you stand, who is truly aligned with you, and what connections are real versus what connections were sustained by what remained hidden. Because once the truth is revealed, everything becomes clearer. You no longer have to question your instincts. You no longer have to second-guess what you feel. You no longer have to carry the weight of uncertainty about who you can trust and where you truly belong. But clarity comes with responsibility. It asks you to accept what you see, even if it challenges your previous understanding. It asks you to adjust your boundaries where necessary. It asks you to recognize that not everyone is meant to have the same level of access to your life once the truth is known. And that is not rejection. That is alignment. Because as you move forward, you are not meant to carry connections that are built on partial truth or hidden intentions. You are meant to walk in clarity, surrounded by what is real, what is honest, and what is aligned with your path. So as this week unfolds, pay attention not only to what is revealed but to who reveals themselves through it. Because sometimes, the greatest truth is not just what was hidden, it is who was hiding it. Type I see clearly now in the comments if you are ready to embrace truth about the people around you. Blessing code 5050 is now bringing clarity to your connections. There comes a moment when what hath been hidden is no longer allowed to remain in the dark, not because it subtly decided to reveal itself, but because the time for concealment has expired. And that is where you are right now. This is not just exposure for the sake of knowing. This is spiritual exposure, necessary, precise, and divinely timed, because what had been hidden has reached a point where it can no longer exist without interfering with where you are meant to go next. And that is something that cannot be allowed. You may wonder why this could not have happened earlier, why the truth did not come to you sooner, why you had to go through moments of confusion, uncertainty, or misalignment before arriving at this point. But what you must understand is this truth is not only about revelation, it is also about readiness. If this had been revealed to you too early, you might not have received it correctly. You might have reacted instead of understood. You might have resisted instead of recognized. You might have dismissed it entirely because it did not align with what you were prepared to accept at that time. But now you are ready. You are no longer in the same place mentally, emotionally, or spiritually that you once were. You have grown. You have observed. You have felt things more deeply. And most importantly, you have reached a point where clarity is no longer optional. It is necessary. Because what remains hidden now is no longer harmless. It is no longer something that can stay in the background without consequence. It has reached a level where it begins to affect your direction, your decisions, your peace, and your alignment. And when something hidden begins to interfere with your path, it must be brought into the light. This is why truth cannot be delayed anymore. It is not about timing convenience. It is about timing necessity. You are approaching a moment where decisions will need to be made, where direction will need to be chosen, where clarity will determine whether you move forward correctly or remain entangled in something that was never meant to go with you into your next phase. And without truth, those decisions would be incomplete. So the truth must come first, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it disrupts what you thought you understood, even if it challenges the image you had of a person, a situation, or even yourself. Because truth does not exist to maintain comfort. It exists to establish alignment. And alignment requires accuracy. There is something powerful about the moment when truth finally surfaces. It cuts through confusion instantly. It removes the weight of uncertainty. It replaces questions with answers, even if those answers are not easy to accept. And once that happens, you are no longer standing in the same place internally. You shift. You see differently. You understand differently. And that shift is exactly what is needed right now. Because what comes next in your life cannot be built on partial understanding. It cannot be built on assumptions. It cannot be built on something that was never fully clear. It must be built on truth, solid, undeniable, and visible. This is why exposure is not punishment. It is preparation. It is the removal of what would have eventually caused greater disruption if it remained hidden any longer. It is the clearing of your path so that what lies ahead is not influenced by something that was never aligned in the first place. And this is where you must remain steady. Because when truth arrives, it can feel intense. It can bring a rush of emotions, realizations, reflections, even moments of disbelief. But those emotions are not there to overwhelm you. They are there to help you process what is being revealed so that you can move forward with clarity instead of confusion. Do not rush this moment. Do not react before you fully understand. Allow the truth to settle. Allow it to show you what it needs to show you. Because once it does, everything that follows will make more sense. And here is something you must hold on to. Truth does not destroy what is real. It only exposes what is not. So if something changes after this exposure, if something shifts, If something no longer fits the way it once did, it is not because truth took something from you. It is because truth revealed that it was never meant to remain in your life as it was. And that realization, as difficult as it may feel in the moment, is what frees you. Because once you see clearly, you are no longer held back by what was hidden. You are guided by what is real. And that is exactly where you need to be. Type "I walk in truth" in the comments if you are ready to move forward with clarity. Blessing code 6060 is now removing all hidden interference from your path. Now listen carefully, because this is where everything begins to shift from what is happening around you to what is happening within you. The exposure, the truth, the realization. It is not the final moment. It is the beginning of a deeper process. And that process is the internal battle you are about to face. Because when truth is revealed, it does not only bring clarity, it brings a choice in how you respond, a choice in how you process, and choice in whether you allow the truth to guide you or whether you allow your emotions to control you. And that choice will determine your outcome far more than the exposure itself. You see, many people believe that once something hidden is revealed, everything automatically becomes better. That clarity alone is enough to fix what was wrong. But that is not always the case. Because clarity without control can still lead to confusion. Truth without discipline can still lead to reaction. And reaction is where many lose their alignment. When something surfaces, especially something unexpected, something personal, something that challenges your trust or your understanding, your first instinct may not be calm. It may not be steady. It may not be composed. There may be a surge of emotion, frustration, disbelief, even anger. You may feel the urge to confront immediately, to speak quickly, to act before you fully process what you have just realized. But this is where the battle begins. Because not every truth needs an immediate reaction. Not every revelation requires instant confrontation. Not every situation benefits from emotional response. And if you allow your emotions to take control in this moment, you risk misusing the very clarity you were given. You risk turning a moment of understanding into a moment of escalation. You risk creating outcomes that could have been avoided with patience, awareness, and control. This is why your internal state matters now more than ever. Because what is being revealed is not just testing your awareness. It is testing your maturity. It is testing your ability to hold truth without being consumed by it. It is testing whether you can remain grounded even when something shifts unexpectedly in your reality. And that is not easy. There is a part of you that will want immediate resolution, immediate answers, immediate action. But the truth is, not everything unfolds in one moment. Sometimes, what is revealed needs to be observed further. Sometimes, clarity deepens over time. Sometimes, the full picture only becomes visible when you allow the initial truth to settle before making decisions. This is where patience becomes power. Because when you pause, when you take a step back instead of stepping forward impulsively, you give yourself the space to see more clearly. You give yourself the ability to respond with intention instead of reacting out of emotion. And that difference is everything. Because your response will shape what comes next. If you respond with clarity, you move forward with control. If you respond with emotion, you may create complications that were never necessary. If you respond with awareness, you align yourself with the truth. But if you respond with assumption or impulse, you risk misinterpreting what has been revealed. So you must ask yourself in this moment, can you hold the truth without letting it overwhelm you? Can you see clearly without needing to act immediately? Can you trust that not every answer needs to be spoken right away, and that sometimes silence, observation, and patience revealed even more than confrontation ever could? Because this is not just about what hath been exposed. This is about how you carry that exposure forward. There is strength in restraint. There is clarity in stillness. There is power in choosing when and how to act rather than reacting the moment something is revealed. And right now, that strength, that clarity, that power is what you are being called to step into. You are not being tested to see if you can recognize the truth. You are being tested to see if you can handle it. Because handling it correctly will determine whether this moment becomes a turning point for growth or a moment of disruption that could have been avoided. So slow down. Breathe. Observe. Let the truth settle within you before you decide what to do with it. Because the way you respond now will echo into what comes next. Type "I choose clarity over reaction" in the comments if you are ready to respond with awareness. Lesson Code 7070 is now strengthening your emotional control and inner stability. There is always a moment, a precise, undeniable moment when everything that has been building beneath the surface can no longer remain contained. A moment when silence reaches its limit. A moment when what has been hidden, avoided, or delayed finally crosses the threshold into full revelation. And that moment is closer than you think. Because before this week ends, there will be a breaking point. Not necessarily loud, not necessarily chaotic, but unmistakable. It will feel like something shifts in an instant, like a curtain being pulled back, like a realization arriving all at once, even though the pieces were scattered for so long. And when it happens, you will not need confirmation from anyone else. You will not need to question what you are seeing or feeling. You will simply know. This is the nature of true revelation. It does not arrive partially. It does not leave room for confusion. It completes what awareness started. It answers what uncertainty could not resolve. And it brings a level of clarity that changes how you see everything connected to it. But here is what makes this moment powerful and also challenging. Because when silence turns into revelation, it does not only expose what was hidden, it exposes how long it has been there. It exposes how it influenced your life without your full awareness. It exposes the moments where something felt off, and now you understand why. And that realization can feel overwhelming. You may look back and begin connecting dots you once ignored. You may recognize patterns that were always present but never fully visible. You may even question why it took this long to reach this point of clarity. But do not let that pull you into regret. Because everything led to this moment for a reason. The delay was not wasted time. The silence was not absence. It was preparation. It was alignment. It was positioning you so that when this revelation arrived, you would be able to receive it in full, without distortion, without denial, without hesitation. And now that moment has arrived. This is the breaking point where what was hidden can no longer coexist with where you are going. It is the moment where truth interrupts illusion, where clarity replaces confusion, where you are no longer standing in between knowing and not knowing. You are standing in certainty, and certainty changes everything. Because once you reach this point, you cannot return to the version of reality you held before. You cannot unsee what has been revealed. You cannot go back to questioning what is now clear. And that is not something to fear. That is something to embrace. Because this is where your power returns. When you know the truth, you are no longer operating from assumption. You are no longer influenced by something hidden. You are no longer reacting to something you do not fully understand. You are responding from a place of awareness, and that awareness gives you control. But this is also where your discipline is tested again. Because even in this moment of revelation, you must remain steady. You must resist the urge to act impulsively, to speak prematurely, to confront without full clarity of what comes next. Because revelation is not just about seeing. It is about knowing what to do with what you see. And sometimes, the most powerful response is not immediate action. It is strategic stillness. It is allowing the truth to settle fully before making decisions. It is observing what unfolds next. It is giving yourself the space to understand not just what has been revealed, but what it means for your future. Because this breaking point is not the end. It is the transition. A transition from confusion to clarity. From uncertainty to direction. From being influenced by what was hidden to being guided by what is real. And once you cross this point, everything that follows will be different. Your decisions will be clearer. Your boundaries will be stronger. Your awareness will be sharper. Because you are no longer navigating in partial understanding. You are moving forward with truth. So when this moment comes, do not panic. Do not resist it. Do not try to hold on to what is already being revealed as something that no longer belongs in its hidden form. Stand in it. Receive it. Allow it to show you exactly what you need to see. Because this is the moment everything changes. Type "I embrace revelation" in the comments if you are ready to stand in truth. Blessing code 8080 is now activating full clarity and awareness in your life. As this revelation breaks through and silence turns into truth, understand this. What is being released through this message is not just for you. It is a light meant to reach countless others still waiting in their moment of awakening. When you act now and so through super thanks with the PayPal link in the description, you are not supporting a video. You are releasing a seed into a spiritual harvest that brings clarity, healing, and truth into lives across the world. The Lord declares, "Those who sow in faith will reap in abundance," and this is your moment to step into that living promise with bold obedience. I feel this strongly. When I give in alignment, I become a vessel for God's work to flow through me. This is not a casual opportunity. This is a prophetic moment to act while the door is open. Those who move now will see doors open in their own lives. Doors of clarity, favor, and divine increase. Step into this moment, release your seed, and become part of the mission that is awakening souls right now. Now that the truth has been revealed, now that the silence has broken and clarity has stepped in, there is something that must follow. And this is the part many people try to delay, avoid, or negotiate with. But you cannot. Because exposure always leads to separation. Not as punishment. Not as loss. But as alignment. There are things, people, patterns, and environments that could only remain in your life while they were hidden. They depended on your lack of full awareness. They depended on partial truth. They depended on you not seeing clearly enough to recognize what was actually happening. But now that you see, now that you know, they can no longer stay in the same way. And this is where the shift becomes real. Because it is one thing to recognize the truth, it is another thing to act on it. There may be a part of you that wants to hold on. A part of you that says maybe it's not as serious as it seems. A part of you that tries to find reasons to keep things the way they were, simply because they are familiar, because they are comfortable, because letting go feels uncertain. But understand this clearly: what hath been exposed cannot be carried forward. Not without consequences, not without misalignment, not without eventually pulling you back into the very confusion you have just been freed from. This is why separation is not optional. It is necessary. It is the natural response to truth. Because once something is revealed as not aligned with you, keeping it in your life in the same way becomes a choice against your own clarity. It becomes a decision to ignore what you now know. And that is where people begin to lose the benefit of the truth they were given. You were not shown this so you could stay the same. You were shown this so you could move differently. And moving differently requires release. It requires you to step back from what no longer aligns. It requires you to create distance where there once was closeness. It requires you to adjust boundaries that were once too open. And in some cases, it requires you to completely remove something from your life that you once thought would remain. This is not easy, because separation can feel like loss, even when it is necessary. It can feel like something is being taken from you, even when what is actually happening is that you are being protected from what no longer belongs. But this is where your understanding must deepen, because you are not losing what is meant for you. You are releasing what was never meant to continue with you into your next chapter. There is a difference, and that difference changes how you carry this moment. Because when you see separation as protection, you stop resisting it. When you see it as alignment, you stop fearing it. When you see it as necessary, you stop delaying it. You begin to move with it instead of against it. There are connections that cannot survive truth because they were built on something incomplete. There are environments that cannot remain once clarity enters because they depended on confusion to exist. There are patterns that cannot continue once you recognize them because awareness breaks their cycle. And that is exactly what is happening now. The exposure you have experienced is not just revealing what was hidden. It is revealing what must leave. And this is where your strength is required again. Because separation does not always happen automatically. Sometimes it requires a decision, a conscious, intentional decision to no longer engage in the same way, to no longer allow the same access, to no longer participate in what you now understand differently. That decision is what protects your future. Because what you allow to remain after truth is revealed will determine whether you move forward in alignment or fall back into what you were just freed from. So ask yourself honestly what no longer feels right now that you see clearly. What no longer aligns now that you understand more. What are you holding on to that you know deep down cannot continue in the same way? That is what must leave. Not out of reaction, not out of emotion, but out of clarity. And when you release it, something powerful happens. Space is created. Space for what is real. Space for what is aligned. Space for what does not need to be hidden in order to exist in your life. And that space is where your next level begins. So do not fear the separation. Do not delay the release. Do not try to hold on to what truth has already shown you does not belong in the same way. Because what leaves now makes room for what is meant to stay. Type "I release what no longer serves me" in the comments if you are ready to move forward in alignment. Blessing code 9090 is now clearing your path for what truly belongs in your life. As everything begins to unfold, as truth rises, as separation takes place, as clarity settles into your life, there is something you must not forget in the middle of all of this. You are not walking through this moment alone. You are not navigating this exposure without support. And you are certainly not unprotected in what is being revealed. Because while things may feel intense, while emotions may rise, while situations shift in ways you did not expect, there is a level of protection surrounding you that you may not even fully see yet. This is not just a moment of exposure. This is a moment of covering. There has been a presence guiding you through this entire process. A presence that has been alert while you were uncertain. A presence that has been aware while you were still questioning. A presence that has been positioning things in your favor, even when it felt like you were standing in confusion. And that presence has not left. It has only become more active. Because when truth is revealed, protection intensifies. Not because you are in danger, but because transition requires stability. And right now, you are in a transition. You are moving from one level of awareness to another, from one level of understanding to another, from one phase of your life into the next. And during that movement, it is essential that you remain steady, grounded, and supported. That is what this protection provides. You may not always see it directly, but you can feel it if you pay attention. It is in the moments where something could have escalated, but did not. It is in the situations where you were about to act impulsively, but something within you held you back. It is in the clarity that comes to you at the right moment, preventing you from making a decision you would later regret. That is not coincidence. That is guidance. And it is still active right now. Because as you move forward from this point, there will be moments where you will need to trust that guidance more than your immediate emotions. There will be moments where restraint will protect you more than reaction. There will be moments where stepping back will be more powerful than stepping forward. And in those moments, you are not making those decisions alone. You are being guided. You are being directed toward outcomes that align with your clarity, not your confusion. You are being kept away from actions that would pull you back into what you have already outgrown. You are being positioned in a way that ensures that what is meant for you remains, and what is not meant for you cannot interfere any longer. This is what protection looks like at this stage. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is precise. It is intentional. It is present in the smallest details of your decisions and the quiet moments of your awareness. And the more you trust it, the stronger it becomes in your life. Because protection does not override your choices. It supports them. It strengthens your ability to choose correctly, to move wisely, to act with clarity instead of confusion. But it still requires your participation. It requires you to listen, to observe, to pause when necessary, and to trust what you are feeling when it aligns with the truth that has been revealed to you. You are not being left to figure this out on your own. You are being guided through it, and that guidance will not fail you. Even when things feel uncertain, even when you do not have all the answers immediately, even when you are still processing what has been revealed, you are still being led in the right direction. That is why you must remain grounded. Because when you are grounded, you can hear that guidance clearly. When you are steady, you can recognize the difference between reaction and direction. When you are aware, you can follow what is being shown to you without second-guessing yourself. This is not just about protection from what was hidden. This is about protection for what comes next. Because now that truth has entered your life, your path is changing. Your direction is becoming clearer. Your alignment is becoming stronger. And that means what lies ahead must be approached with the same level of awareness and intention that brought you to this moment. So do not feel alone in this. Do not feel unsupported. Do not feel like you are facing this transition without guidance. Because you are not. You are being covered. You are being guided. You are being protected every step of the way. And as long as you remain aligned with the truth that has been revealed to you, that protection will continue to carry you forward. Type "I am protected" and guided in the comments if you trust the direction you are being led toward. Blessing code 1010 is now surrounding your life with clarity, protection, and divine guidance. Now that the truth has surfaced, now that separation has begun, now that you have stepped through the intensity of revelation and resisted the urge to react impulsively, something new begins to take form in your life. And this part is just as important as everything that came before it. Because exposure is not the final destination. Alignment is. There is a shift happening within you right now, even if you cannot fully put it into words yet. It is subtle but powerful. It is the feeling of things settling into place internally. The feeling that what once felt confusing is now becoming clearer. the feeling that you are no longer standing in uncertainty, but beginning to move with direction. This is the beginning of your new alignment, and it changes how everything around you functions. Because once truth enters your life, and you respond to it correctly, you no longer operate from the same mindset, the same patterns, or the same level of awareness. You begin to see things differently. You begin to make decisions differently. You begin to recognize what aligns with you and what does not without needing external confirmation. This is what alignment does. It simplifies what once felt complicated. It removes the need to constantly question yourself. It brings a sense of internal stability that allows you to move forward with confidence instead of hesitation. But this new alignment does not just affect you internally. It begins to reshape your external reality as well. You may notice that certain situations start to shift naturally. Conversations may change. Opportunities may appear differently. Things that once felt difficult to navigate may suddenly feel easier, not because they changed, but because you are now approaching them from a place of clarity. And at the same time, you may notice that some things no longer connect with you the way they used to. Not because they are necessarily negative, but because they no longer match your level of awareness. They no longer fit into the direction you are now moving in. And instead of forcing those connections to remain, you find yourself naturally stepping away from them without resistance. This is alignment in motion. It is not forced. It is not dramatic. It is a natural consequence of seeing clearly. Because once you know what is true, your life begins to organize itself around that truth. Your energy shifts. Your focus sharpens. Your decisions become more intentional. And the path ahead becomes easier to navigate because you are no longer carrying confusion with you. But there is something important you must remember during this phase. Alignment requires consistency. It is not a one-time adjustment. It is not a single decision. It is an ongoing process of choosing to stay in clarity, even when it would be easier to fall back into old patterns. It is choosing to maintain your boundaries, even when familiarity tries to pull you back. It is choosing to trust what you now know, even when doubt attempts to re-enter your thinking. Because there will be moments where the old tries to return. Moments where situations or people attempt to re-engage in ways that once felt normal. Moments where you may feel the urge to question whether you made the right choice in stepping away or seeing things differently. But this is where your awareness protects you. Because you are no longer operating from uncertainty. You are operating from truth. And truth does not shift just because something feels familiar. This is why your new alignment must be protected. Not through force, but through awareness. Not through resistance, but through consistency. You must continue to move in the direction that clarity has shown you. You must continue to honor the boundaries that truth has revealed to you. You must continue to trust the understanding that has come to you, even if it feels different from what you were used to before. Because this is where your growth stabilizes. This is where your life begins to reflect the clarity you have received. And this is where everything starts to move forward in a way that feels right, not forced. You are no longer reacting to what is hidden. You are responding to what is real. And that changes everything. So as you move forward from this moment, do not look back at what was exposed with hesitation. Do not question whether the clarity you received was necessary. Do not second-guess the alignment that is now forming in your life. Because this is exactly where you are meant to be. You have moved through awareness. You have stepped into truth. And now you are walking in alignment. Type "I walk in alignment" in the comments if you are ready to continue forward with clarity. Blessing code 1111 is now strengthening your path and aligning every step you take. Now we arrive at the final moment, the point where everything that has been revealed, Everything that has been stirred within you, everything that has shifted around you comes together into one undeniable truth. You cannot ignore this. Not now. Not after what you have seen. Not after what you have felt. Not after what has been made clear to you in ways that go beyond logic and reach into something deeper within you. Because this was never just information. This was intervention. There is a difference. Information can be heard and forgotten. It can be acknowledged and dismissed. It can pass through your awareness without requiring any real change. But intervention demands a response. It demands recognition. It demands that you do something with what has been placed in front of you. And that is where you stand right now. A point where ignoring what you now know would not bring you peace, it would bring you back into confusion. At a point where pretending not to see what has been revealed would not protect you, it would only delay what must eventually be faced again. Because truth does not disappear once it is revealed. It waits. It waits for you to respond to it. It waits for you to align with it. It waits for you to make the decisions that reflect your awareness instead of your hesitation. And the longer it waits, the heavier it becomes, because deep down, you know it has not been addressed. This is why this moment carries urgency. Not fear, but urgency. The kind of urgency that reminds you that timing matters. That the window you are in right now is not permanent. That the clarity you have been given is meant to be acted on while it is fresh, while it is strong, while it is undeniable. Because if you delay too long, doubt can return. Old patterns can attempt to resurface. Familiar comfort can try to pull you back into what you have already outgrown. And that is how people lose the power of the truth they once received. Not because the truth was not real, but because they did not act on it when it mattered most. Do not let that be your story. You have come too far in your awareness to go back now. You have seen too much to pretend you do not understand. You have felt too deeply to dismiss what has been placed in your spirit. This is your moment to decide. Will you move forward in alignment with what you now know? Or will you hesitate and allow what has already been exposed to remain longer than it should? Because the outcome of this moment is not determined by what was revealed. It is determined by what you choose to do next. And you already know what that is. You feel it. You understand it. You may not have all the details yet, but you have enough clarity to take the next step. Enough awareness to move differently. Enough truth to begin shifting your direction in a way that reflects what has been shown to you. That is all you need right now. You do not need to have everything figured out. You do not need to see the entire path ahead. You only need to take the step that aligns with the truth you have received. And once you do, everything else will begin to unfold in the right way, at the right time, with the right clarity. But that step must be taken. This is the final warning, not as a threat, but as a reminder. A reminder that this moment matters, that this week matters, that what has been revealed to you is not something to carry lightly or postpone indefinitely. You are being called to move, to shift, to align. And once you do, you will not return to where you were before. You will move forward with clarity, with strength, with awareness that cannot be taken from you again. Because you have seen the truth, and now you must live by it. Type "I step into truth" now in the comments if you are ready to act on what has been revealed. Blessing code 1212 is now sealing your path in clarity, alignment, and forward movement. As you step into this final moment of truth and alignment, understand this: what you are part of right now is not just a message. It is a movement of light reaching souls who are still waiting for their awakening. Every seed you release through Super Thanks with a PayPal link in the description becomes a torch that breaks darkness in someone else's life. igniting clarity where confusion once lived. The word declares, as you sow, so shall you reap. And right now, God is speaking that promise directly into your life as an active invitation. I feel this deeply. When I give in obedience, I unlock doors not only for others, but for myself. This is not a casual moment. This is a prophetic window where your action carries spiritual weight and eternal impact. Those who respond now will see a shift, a return, a multiplication of what they release in faith. So act with boldness, step into alignment, and release your seed now, because through you, God is reaching someone who needs this message today.